Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for clicking on the video. And today we're going to do a little in-depth review on the Fluke. I know I've done a previous video on the Fluke and probably messed out on a few different things, and some new things have come out, some things that I wanted to cover. And I didn't in that video. But in case you guys don't know what a Fluke is, this is your Fluke, commonly known as a soft jerk bait as well. This one just happens to be by Zoom. I've got a few different baits. I won't cover them in any particular order. Then I got a few different things on rigging and some modifications, and maybe some things that you've never seen before. So anyway, this is a great time of the year for me, especially to be throwing the soft jerk bait or the Fluke. One of the ponds that I fish has actually come up with a lot of grass in it, and it's becoming hard to throw several different types of lures in it. I turned to the soft jerk bait last week and was able to catch a few fish. So it got me thinking about it. And I thought, why not? Let's get back to talking about the Fluke. Many of you guys know the Fluke. Many of you guys know some different rigging options. Some of this information is probably not new to you. But if you haven't seen it or haven't done it, I'm here to show you a few different things. So first off, let's talk about the baits themselves, again in no particular order. The first one here is by Strike King. They teamed up with Z-Man and came out with an Elastec, the 0/Z2. This one happens to be in Smoky Shad. And I'm going to use the regular Fluke as kind of the staple. This is what everybody knows, the 5-inch. This one from Strike King doesn't actually give you a size on there, but you can see they're very similar all the way down to the fork tail. Difference is this one, is regular plastic, where this one from the Elastec will be that very durable plastic. One of the things too to keep in mind with anything that's Elastec will have more of a floating versus sinking. So if you're trying to get it to sink, you're going to have to use a pretty heavy wire hook or something that's going to help it sink. Sorry guys, I tried to get prepared today and have some things laid out, and it's kind of limited my space. Another bait, and I have one of these already rigged up. I believe this is, it's a 5-inch. This is your regular Z-Man Streaks. That's what I caught all the fish on last week. This one has happened to be rigged up. This is rigged up on the Scamper rig, which I'll show you. I also inserted a glass rattle. So if you compare that to the original Fluke, very similar. Both have that slot in the belly. Kind of have that ridge back. Slot in the belly. You can see this guy has been tore up. This is where I actually shoved the rattle in. And we'll go over all that in a little bit. I'm just trying to cover some of the bait. Again, this bait's been put through the ringer. It's probably caught about 50 fish. And she's still catching fish. Next, a little bit smaller offering. At a 4-inch from Z-Man is the Scented Jerk Shad. This one versus the Streaks, where it has, and I'll show you the Streak. I'll get a brand new one. see my streaks was missing this little tail end piece to it. It has been absolutely chewed off, but it's only a single tail. Whereas the scented jerk shad comes back to that original Fluke style tail, but you're going to get that Elastic propriety. Again, very similar. If you notice, as I'm going through here, the colors, I try to keep it really simple. Most of the time, it's just a shad color that I'm using. You will use some bluegill color and some whites. Moving up, this is the NetBait Super Twitch. I'm not going to take every bait out. This video would be extremely long. This one's really good. It's already pre-soaked in bait fuel. Couple things that you can do on these as well is you can run these on a ball head or any type of minnow head that you're using. Don't need to really take one out, but again, the regular Super Fluke. And then I was able to get out and pick up some of the new release from Zoom. A lot of controversy from some people on this bait. You like it, you think it's a knockoff, whatever you think. I'm not here to argue that. But I don't have any more. Another one that's in that category that I use is the Depth Sakamata shad. The Sakamata shad is extremely hard to get right now, especially with the tariffs coming in. So what we have, and I went to Dick's. If you guys haven't been to Dick's lately or haven't been watching, Dick's has been having some great sales. They had a sale on Zoom, buy 3, get 3 free. I've been watching for these to come out because I really wanted to see what they were like. This is a Super Salt Plus 4-inch and silver shad. It's the winged Fluke. Now, a lot of people are saying this is a knockoff of the Sakamata shad. Again, I'm not here to argue that. Boyd Duckett also has one that he came out with. I was looking for it, didn't find it right off the top. Looking in my little Fluke box, I can't see it. But what that this is that's comparable to the Sakamatas. It's got these little wings on the side. But it's a great looking bait. Again, I'd be throwing Sakamatas as well. I've ran out of those. And right now they're pretty hard to get. They've been tough to get since they kind of hit that mainstream. So again, yesterday I went and they had to buy 3, get 3 free. I bought at least one of every color they had available. This is what they called silver shad. Then I got ghost shad. And then right as I was getting ready to pick up a couple multiples of these colors, they only had these 3 colors. They had Baiwako Wagasaki. And that's kind of that bluegill color. And that's all in the standard size. There are some bigger ones. Like this one here. This is the Magnum Super Fluke. It's 7-inch. I'll show you how I've been rigging that. And one of the things that, a modification that I've done. But you can get that in a 7-inch. I believe the Sakamata shad, if you can get it all the way up to an 8-inch. And you can get these guys, believe it or not, all the way down to like a 2-inch. This is the Tiny Fluke and Smoking Shad. And then these came from a private bait maker who was on Whatnot. These are in a little 2-inch too, but it's just another little fluke. Got a great deal on these. I got about 100 to 150 of them shipped to my door for like 20 bucks. Some of the stuff is getting hard to find. I'm trying to find some local bait makers to support, show my love to. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it on the baits. It all started again with the original Super Fluke. This has been a staple for years. Couple of the ways that you can rig them. Most people know you take, like an EWG or an offset hook. You thread it in, come through the belly slot, come out the back, expose it. This hook would be horrible for this bait. A little small. But one of the problems you have, even when you're going up to the wider gap, is sometimes that bait, once you've caught a couple fish, it slides down and you end up with this ball down here at the bottom. This rig stuff, an EWG offset hook still definitely works really, really well. But a couple things that I've been doing for a few years now that I think is really, really helpful for me is I've gone to a wide gap hook with a hitchhiker on it. They sell these VMC, and I believe that's what these are. I think Trocar, Eagle Claw has them. It's just a weightless swim bait hook. And the cool thing about that helps you is, of course, you run this through the nose of the bait. Then you go ahead and you expose that hook. And you can see once you're threading that into here, you get a good wide gap in it. I've really, really grown fond of that one. I like throwing that a lot. Another thing you can do is you can just take yourself a regular hitchhiker, thread that through the nose, and then you can take your favorite hook, usually a drop shot hook, run it through, and you want to get through the spring. You can nose hook that bait. Let me see here. Thought I might have one that's kind of beat up a little bit, and I don't, but we'll take out another one here, kind of show you. This one's bent from sun. So anyway, you would take your Fluke, run that screw lock into the head. You really want to run this as far in as you can. I'm not going to, just for purposes. But anyway, you end up with this. You still would have, you want to bury that as much as possible. And you come through, again, typically with a little drop shot hook. Come through. And then you nose hook that. And I ran it sideways, I know. But I was just trying to give you guys a demonstration. So that's another different way that you can rig the Fluke. It's really, really effective. Nose hooking them gives you a different action. Again, that was with just a regular old hitchhiker. One of the things, too, to keep in mind is, depending on, if you go in through the Fluke and then directly out, or if you're going in, you got to rig these straight, and you're coming out deeper into the Fluke. Will give you two different types of axes as well. The one rig will keep the bait down the way I just showed you. It tends to keep the bait moving downward. The other one keeps the bait kind of moving high. I've seen some stuff out there where people are saying you definitely got to keep it down. You definitely got to keep it down. But if you've ever watched bait fish being chased, like if you're out fishing a shad spawn or a herring spawn and you got a group of schooling bass, the bait fish aren't always going down. They're popping the surface. Some of the best bites I've had have been right at the surface when the bait is coming up out of the water. So I don't necessarily think that's something that you want to eliminate. but a lot of people prefer to keep that fluke down. Some people twitch, let it pause, let it kind of flutter down. That's when you're fishing it weightless. It flutters down really, really well. Imitates a dying bait fish. You can actually get a spiral out of it. A lot of people think that's the only way to fish it. I don't always fish it that way. I'll throw it out and fish it real aggressive. Rip, 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 rip. And I will keep a slack line so that when after I've ripped, I'll pull in some line and I let it on that slack line. It gives it the best action falling. On a tight line, it doesn't really fall the way that you'd want it to. I'll get my bait so it not just falls this way, but it's falling on the side. Like I said, I've got it to where it'll just kind of flutter on the way down. And that's when you're really going to trigger some of them great reaction bites. The last hook that I'll show you in a standard hook, I got these in a 4/0 and then a 2/0, both of them in a 1/16 size. This is the new Core Tackle Scamper rig. And on that Streaks, that's what was inside of that. This thing's made with a trocar hook. Good, strong hook. Great rig. I've been throwing it a lot. It's a new product that the Core Tackle just came out with. But there you have it. The Scamper rig. Nice thing is it does put lead on the bottom. So if you're out fishing a little deeper water, the bait fish are being chased subsurface, this is definitely a plus. It'll help keep that down with that little bit of weight. The only thing I don't particularly like around weeds with this, and this is only around grass or weeds, is that when you're rigging it, got it rigged up. Why not just show it fully rigged up? Go right back to it. Is you end up with a bait like this. So if you're fishing around heavy cover, grass, you do have that exposed hook. So that's something just to keep in mind. I do get a good hookup ratio on it. I do like the action that I get out of that Scamper rig. I'm starting to experiment with the Scamper on some soft stick baits and other types of baits just to see what else I might be able to utilize the Scamper for. But if you haven't tried that Scamper rig, I highly recommend that. It does really, really good for these soft jerk baits or the Fluke, as you know it. Another modifications you can do just to add yourself a little sound. These little glass rattles. I know everybody knows what a rattle is. But these little glass rattles, they got that. You can see one end is rounded. Let's just go ahead and take one out. One end is really round and blunt. The other end has got more of this point to it. And I find if I'm going in this way, I can penetrate that bait just a little bit better. And I'm adding a little sound to it. I just feel like, you know, sometimes in that dirty to stained water, fishing around heavy cover, adding just a little tiny bit of sound helps out. Okay, and then I showed you guys the big 7-inch Fluke. Of course, you can get yourself a big 7/0, like Owner Beast hook or something like that. And it works really, really well for you. Another way that I've been fishing it, that I find very useful, especially on the bigger baits, this is a modification that I've made. I just have the hook sitting in here so that it doesn't get lost. But I tie on a treble hook. Let's go ahead and cut that off. Cut that old line off there. The brand of treble hook that you use doesn't really matter. You know, it's whatever you can afford, whatever you can find. But I use a treble hook, and then I make just a line through. And what I've done here to make the line through, this is actually from a pop rivet. I bought a bag of rivets. I leave the rivet fully together, and I don't have a rivet laying here. But anyway, I just insert and I'm looking over here to see I don't have a rivet. Most of you know what a rivet is, but anyway, I insert that rivet, and then it makes a channel for my line to go through. So then I'll feed the line through, tie on the treble, then I pull it up, and I can snug this treble, you know, pretty much anywhere that I see fit. And this is a really, really good modification on these bigger baits. You got a lot of plastic here for the fish to leverage and throw it. You can also use coffee stir, old ink pens, the little tube that held the ink. You could use pretty much anything that has a hollow tube to it. I was looking to see if I might have something else sitting here, and I don't. I just like these rivets, because I don't always remember to save the insert from a ink pen, nor have I bought the coffee stirrers. The coffee stirrers, I'd have to, you know, cut them up into sections. No big deal. I'm not opposed to that, but these rivets, I just happened to be shopping. And I think I had a project where I needed a handful of rivets. And then I just, you know, had the extras. And I found that it works really, really good. So if you are looking for something to modify, like your big Fluke, give this rig a try. Again, you know, the on the line through, it works just like a line through swim bait. The nice thing I find about it is I can move that down any spot. So if I'm noticing they're short striking, you know, I can move this hook down. You know, of course, when you got a line tied on, it's going to keep it all snug. If they're hitting more towards the head, which is generally where they hit and where they're going to grab it, you just come up. You can lay these fairly flat. Believe it or not, it is semi-weedless. But I've had a really good hookup ratio on this. Before, when I was throwing it on more of like an owner beast hook, I was having some problems with the bass getting leverage to it. A lot of the ponds that I'm fishing, there's a pile, and I mean just a pile of small bass. And they will, you know, I've had 8-inch bass try to inhale that. Definitely on those smaller bass, because you can't really get all this plastic in the mouth, and it'll have, you know, it coming back out of the mouth, you know, if they're eating it, up on the head. You've still got a good amount of heavy plastic that's exposed, and with that being able to be kind of flopped around there on you, there's a good chance they're going to throw that bait. So that's just a simple, easy modification that I've done. You can also nose hook that. You could use a CPS spring, and come back in with a hook and nose hook that, and that works really, really well. The only thing that I didn't prepare myself with, that's another rigging technique that I use, is called the donkey rig. And some people I've seen rig the donkey rig a few different ways, and I rig it probably a little differently. For the donkey rig, you're going to need 2 baits, 2 hooks, and 2 swivels. Okay. So one rig will be what I call the free moving bait. You just regular hook that however you're wanting to rig it. I generally run it weedless. I run that, tie my line on, and then I tie, you know, probably a 10-inch leader onto it, and then I put that onto a nice barrel swivel, and then I run that over my main line, and then once I got that on my main line, I will then tie on a second rig. On the main line, after I slide my line on, I will then tie on a second barrel swivel, so that my first bait cannot come below that barrel swivel. And then from there, I'll tie on another piece of leader line. And generally that one I want to be 24 to 30 inches. I don't want my baits at any time to get this close to each other purposely. Now, when you're fishing them, they're going to get close together, but I like to leave some distance between the two. That way they don't tangle up. The reason why I'm using the barrel swivels too is so that I can keep twist out of my line. Helps to give it a little more action. But basically what you're going to end up with is one bait here and one bait out here. And you don't have to have this leader. You don't want this leader way out here 30 inches. You want them fairly close, but not close enough to where they're going to completely hit each other. I've done that in the past, experiment with it. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Not saying I haven't caught fish that way, but I can tell you when they're this close to each other, even this close to each other, they do cross each other. Then you end up with this one over top of the line. Then you've messed up your cast. So I try to give that space in it. And what you're doing there is you're imitating, maybe one bait fish following another bait fish, because you're going to get them to work pretty much in sync with each other, especially once you learn the cadence. You get those line spreads out far enough. The other thing, too, that some people will do is they'll take, this one, the big 7-inch, I put it in the back, and put a smaller one in the front. So this one would be tied directly to the main line on that swivel. This one's on the free swinging one. And it looks like another fish chasing another fish. Can't say that either way is wrong on that either. But what I'm looking to do is get two different fish moving, and it makes it look more like a bait fish. I've heard people tying 3-4 of them on a setup. I'm not going to go there because then you're talking about so many different leader lengths to keep them all from intertangling. And then, in Ohio, we're not allowed to have more than 2 hooks out on a line anyway. I mean, you could use a treble hook, but I can't have, it's just like if I use a Alabama rig, I can't have all 7 of them with a hook on them. So I just stick with the 2. It's worked. And if you're fishing around schooling bass, don't be surprised to get a double hookup on one. That's happened to me a few times. But especially if they're chasing bait fish and they're chasing bait fish pretty hard, sometimes, you got to experiment with it. You can throw it out and one might do the trick. You might have to switch to the donkey rig and have that double action. But it's definitely works. You can throw this on a bait caster. I prefer to throw mine on a spinning reel, especially when I'm going weightless. I've got one rigged up here for tomorrow. That's on that CPS. That's a baby Z2. You can see how I have that rigged. This one I have on 10-pound Yozuri braid to an 8-pound Trilene Sensoline leader. The rod is my 6'6" medium light St. Croix Triumph and a Shimano Mirabelle. I could use that on my Super Finesse rod as well. I prefer something 6'6" to 7 foot for it. Like I said, you can get away with it on a bait caster. This rig I definitely throw on a bait caster because I'm usually targeting bigger bass. So I want a little bit better leverage that the bait caster is going to give me around heavy cover. But anyway, guys, that's the Fluke. Got some in-depth stuff for you on the Fluke. Again, there's really no wrong way or right way to fish it. Some people twitch, let it pause and die. Some people barely twitch it. The key is keeping that slack in the line, though, when you're twitching it, because it gives you a whole lot better action. Again, don't be afraid to burn this. Don't be afraid to have it popping out of. I've had this bait come completely out of water. Not the tail end of it, but I'm gonna say probably that much of that bait, about half that bait will come up out of the water. And a lot of times when it's breaching the water and it's busting on the surface, that's when these bass will come up and eat that thing. I have fished it really, really aggressive. Especially if the fish are aggressively eating, I find that to be the best way. Some of the other months of the year, you definitely got to fish it slower. I find the Fluke good not only in cold water, cooler water, but it works really, really well in warm water. Usually around that shad spawn, if you're on a lake where you got herring, during the herring spawn, that's when this rig is really going to shine the best for you. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Stay tuned. We're going to keep putting out videos for you. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. Help my channel out. Let's get that 500 subscriber count so I can give away some swim baits. 100% free. Doesn't cost you to subscribe to the channel. You can unsubscribe at any time. If you are a subscriber, make sure you hit that notification bell to stay notified when I'm putting out a new video. Again, like, comment, share the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.